All right, we are back. Episode 12 of Preaching Young.
People said we couldn't make it episode 12.
They didn't. They didn't think we'd make it past episode 4. But here we are.
Sure? Can we validate that it was episode 4?
Episode 12. It was episode 4. And here we are, episode 12. So y'all can take that to the bank. We made it. We did it. And we still were able to keep Brittany on, which was a shock to a lot of people. But we did.
We didn't think we could do it. We're dragging her
on
along some of these episodes. If you're watching on YouTube, April Christian Ministries, she's fallen asleep on some of them.
I know we've had a couple emails that said, "Hey, it looks like Brittany's falling asleep," but she's not. We tried to address it once.
I put my hand on my face.
Well, she's not sleeping.
Medically, she's okay. She's not in any kind of injury. She's okay.
Anyway, but I'm Aben Crozier. In case anybody didn't know, I'm the senior pastor here. I said senior pastor. That's weird. I'm the only pastor.
You're the only pastor.
Only pastor here at the Trinity Southern Baptist Church.
Oh, my name's Andrew. I'm Andrew Baker, and I am the worship leader and youth leader here as well. Even though you hear this every episode, but we're going to keep doing it.
And I am Brittany Fornash. I am the administrative assistant.
Secretary.
Okay? If I say secretary, they get mad at me for not saying administrative assistant.
Why you get so hostile?
Oh, and I'm also the one of the youth leaders here at Trinity.
One of the youth leaders. Listen, I'm excited. We are back. We're back in church. We're having in-person services. We are trying to navigate the world that we're living in. It's been some crazy times out there, and I just want to say that life is good at the end of the day, because here's the reality. I don't care who you are or what you do or what your background is. The reality of life is hard and life is difficult, and we cannot let the devil distract us from what we are called to do as Christians. Because here's the reality. Because when the pandemic happened, everybody that I talked to in the church circle, right, were saying, you know what, this almost feels like God's about to bring a revival. This feels like something, we're getting focused on God again. Everything's kind of been pushed to the wayside. There's no school, there's no sports, there's nothing on TV, and we're really focusing on God more. And then just like that, the riots start to happen, and now everyone is divided. Everyone is unfocused. Everyone is worried and stressed, and it's unbelievable. And the devil's doing it. The devil runs our culture. And when he tempted Jesus Christ, what did he tempt him with? He tempted him with the world. And we have to make sure that as Christians, we're not focused so much on the world that we forget what we're called to do.
Amen. Because at the end of the day, guess what? One person's in control here.
One person.
Whether you see it or not, whether what your belief is, whether what your opinion is, if you want to believe it or not, there's one person.
And this stuff is biblical, is political. It's election year. This stuff is political. Black Lives Matter is not a phrase; it is a organization. It's a very strong and powerful organization, and you have to be careful, man. When you say Black Lives Matter, you're probably doing more supportive of the organization than you realize. This is a sin problem, not a skin problem. I'm a biracial pastor here in Falmouth, Kentucky, and here's the reality. I grew up in this town. I can tell you, because Falmouth isn't in Falmouth, there's a lot of poverty in Falmouth. And so poverty is not it doesn't discriminate via skin color, right?
True.
Situations, hardships, anybody can go through them. And we just have to not get distracted by these things, right? Even Jesus said there's going to be poor always among you, but he wouldn't be there all the time, right? He was talking to the disciples at the time. But we have to be focused and recognize that as Christians, we're supposed to love, have compassion, and if we preach the gospel and live out the gospel, then those things the fruit of the Spirit should flow out of us, right? Peace, love, gentle, kindness, all those things, self-control. Those stuff should just be part of what we are as Christians, born again believers. And so this isn't you need to do better, we need to do better. No, we just need to be better Christians and not be shocked by what the world is doing and how they're reacting, because that's the world. The world is chaos. The world is confusion. The world is all over the place in destruction. That's what the world is. So why am I shocked that the world is doing that?
Shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be. But anyway, I heard we had some questions for today. That's all I'm gonna say about this race stuff.
I'm going to start because I actually saw a question this week on Twitter, which I thought was really, it just kind of hit me. Cause I was like, whoa.
We don't have a Preaching Young Twitter yet. We should probably get one of those.
Yeah,
I think
it's
Andy
actually
could
a good
probably run
idea.
that probably.
I think I could.
But we do have a Trinity Southern Baptist Church one if you want to follow us on there, or I'm on there, Aiden Crozier, you're on there, Andrew Baker.
We're all three on
Brittany
there, so you can,
Yeah.
you can look us up on the.
You can give us some questions on there too. Sounds like we got one from there. Cool.
Yeah, it was actually kind of cool because when I read it, I was like, wow, that's actually a pretty powerful question. And the question was, which I want to hear what your guys' thoughts are on it, is should Christians have an opinion?
Yes.
Okay,
Explain.
see why.
I said no earlier, so I was trying to throw her off. Should Christians have an opinion? Everyone has an opinion.
It's true. Everyone has an opinion.
Okay, explain it.
In this country that we live in, we're free to have an opinion.
Yes.
Here's the thing that we run into trouble with. Because this is social media. If you look at social media, this is the reality of social media. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone expresses their opinion. The problem is, especially with Christians, we are living and dying by our opinion, right? We have to understand that, is your opinion, I mean, this is the reality of it. You can say whatever you want, it doesn't matter. But if you're going to give your opinion, you're going to have to recognize the results and the consequences of that opinion.
And that being what?
Alright.
That being should.
I'm saying if I give my opinion on what's happening with the race thing, if I give my opinion on what's going on with churches or whatever the case may be, if I give my opinion on something, I have to be aware of the consequences. How does this affect other people? Is this going to cause someone to stumble? Is this going to cause somebody to be upset with me or angry with me? Will it hurt my witness? Will it cause people to think twice about coming to church? Will it cause people twice to think,
Well, it's bigger than just the church thing. That's where I was going to go with it. It's bigger than just hurting your witness and hurting your church thing, because, like, personally, your church, because someone looks at you, you say you're a Christian, you have this opinion about something, and you get vocal about it with this person. They're not just going to associate you with that church. They're going to associate you with the name Christian.
Yep.
And that hurts everybody. That does way more damage than you think. So at the end of the day, is it worth having an opinion that, I don't want to say it's bad to have an opinion. Is it worth arguing your opinion? Is it worth doing things in public for that opinion? I don't know.
All right, interesting. So the reason I asked that is because obviously I have an opinion of my own, right?
She wanted to answer the question.
She wanted to
Well, no. I wanted to see what you guys thought, and then you guys know I'm an opinionated person by nature. Anyway,
But it's okay to be opinionated. The issue is A, who are you expressing that to? Is there any merit behind that opinion?
Yeah.
And then does it help grow the kingdom of God? Because everything we should be doing really should be a reflection of Jesus Christ. And I know that's cliche. I know that's
But
hard
it's true.
to do, but it really is how. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, you are putting yourself in a position to be a representative of Christ. So the things that you say, the things that you do, how you act, and here's the thing that's even you got to be really careful of. Are you saying the things that you're saying? Because a lot of people want to call other people out. Are you saying it with love? Are you saying it in a gentle way? The Bible can be as harsh as it wants to be, and sometimes we just need to let the word of God do its part. Because I'll see people even post things that are very upfront and in your face, that are biblical, that are right from the Bible. But the issue is, you have your opinion on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would just, if you want to get your point across, just let the Bible do the talking. I think we underestimate the power of God in the Bible. And this is the thing about social media, is we all think that our opinion needs to be heard, and that people, like, I'll talk to people and they'll be like, I have to say this thing because people need to hear my opinion on it. And it's like, what are you talking about? Nobody needs to hear your opinion on it. Nobody cares, because the reality is, I don't know anybody there's very few, might be a couple, but there is, the majority of time, no one is going to change their opinion on a situation because of your opinion.
Well, you look at like family members, for instance, like having arguments over whatever the case, whatever you're arguing over, or whatever you're having a discussion about. Though 90% of the time, you're going to walk away from that conversation. Neither one of the people in that discussion are going to have different opinions.
No,
You're just all you're doing is throwing rocks at people, and nobody's changing their mind.
And if anything, you dig your heel deeper into the ground because you're like, no, I'm really going to stand firm on this.
Yeah, so when I saw this
And that goes both ways.
I saw this question, I actually had to take a step back because I was getting kind of heated with everything going on in the world today. But I had to realize, wow, God's speaking to me in this tweet right here, but saying, should Christians have an opinion? Yes, me being a person, I have an opinion, but my opinion as a Christian should be in line with what...
I think the question should be different.
What God with
Right.
what God wants and what God says about the situation. And that's what hit me, because I was like, whoa, like, yeah, way to put me in my spot.
Yeah, I
I
think
should be going to the Bible.
Yeah, I think the
in
question
my
shouldn't
opinion.
be, should you have an opinion? It's should you express that opinion,
Yes.
right? You
Yeah.
should have an
Which
Which is
opinion.
kind of how I took it,
Yeah.
in a way. And I was like, wow, I needed that, because I mean, I think everyone has
Apologize.
everyone has an opinion about everything that's going on right now.
Get a ding.
Well, and this is the problem, and I've said this on both sides. I don't care if you are, I don't care what side you are on the spectrum of what's happening in our culture. The reason that we're so divided right now as a country is because everyone, I'm talking about everyone, is speaking and not one
Yep.
person is listening.
Exactly.
Not one person is sitting there going, okay, because here's the reality. Everybody has a different experience. Everyone has a different opinion. Everyone has a different, upbringing. I know some people I know a friend who got jumped by a bunch of black people when he was in school. And so his viewpoint is he has a hard time being okay with black people. He gets nervous around them. Now, is he correct in that opinion? No. Should he be in fear all the time because of it? No, right? Because he's taking one little instance and he's making it. But they're doing this with the police officer.
Yeah.
One police officer kills a guy, and then all police officers are bad. You can't do these things. You can't just do these blanket statements and then make everybody. It's really, you even look at the Catholic Church. You can't just blame one Catholic priest who does something very bad to children. You can't just put that on all
I was
Catholics.
gonna say, we do that with everything. We do that with
We
everything.
do
We do
that
that
with
with everything that happens in the world. We immediately think because it happened to one person or one person did it, that it's a bad thing. And I'll say the same thing we just talked about earlier. That's the same exact way it happens when you say you're a Christian. People take one bad person that calls themselves a Christian and they run with it and say all Christians are bad people.
And the issue
So that's the biggest. That's what we were getting at earlier.
And the issue that we're seeing in 2020 is what we're going to call virtue signaling. That's going to be the phrase of the year, which is this is what happened. During the pandemic, it was virtue signaling on staying home. I'm staying home because I care and I I listen to the governor and I don't want to make anybody in my family sick, so I'm going to stay home. Then it was masks, because you have to wear a mask. So everybody virtue signaled, I am so good because I'm going to wear a mask, not for myself, but to protect you. And so they do this virtue signaling of how holy I am, even though, and here's the thing that's really been bothering me. This has bothered me about the pandemic, and this has bothered me about this race issue. The people that are the loudest are the ones, they're not following what they're saying, okay? So the ones that were saying, I'm staying home, they weren't staying home. They were going out all the time. The ones that said, I'm wearing masks and because I'm protecting you, you talk to them afterwards, they're like, yeah, I haven't worn a mask
took
all
their
week.
mask off,
You're not following along the thing. So don't get on Facebook and express your opinion if you're not following. That's virtue signaling. You're sitting there wanting people to think that you're all holy and all this stuff, and you're not even following the thing. And the same with this race issue. I have seen so many people who are so, vocal about how great they are and how they stand with black people. And I'm thinking, okay, let's go back to high school. You were the ones that used to call me racist names. Or let's go back to last week when you were sitting there complaining about whatever the case may be. These are the same people that are the loudest. And it's, I don't even want to get into it, but it's just driving me nuts because people are virtue signaling. People are they want to have people go to them and say, you are the greatest, you are so good, you are holy, and you are wonderful, and it's disgusting.
But like you said earlier, I don't think as Christians we should be surprised with how people act. We should never be surprised. I think you said it. I think you phrased it this way. We should not be afraid when a lost and dying world acts like a lost and dying world.
Yeah, that's exactly.
It shouldn't catch us off guard.
And
we know that.
If anything, it should spur us to not to argue with them or to share our opinions or go head to head with them. If anything, it should cause us as Christians to really focus on reaching out to them and meeting them and going out to eat with them and sharing them about this Christ that we serve, because the reality is
He's the solution to the problems.
He's the solution to the problems. and He's the only person that's going to give us peace in these unpeaceful times. So there it is. And here's the funnier part. I've been on Facebook today. It's all quieting down. Mm-hmm. And this happens all the time. It's loud. You think the world is ending because it's all we're talking about. Yeah. And then something else happens. Bill Clinton will get back in there with something crazy.
Let's change gears here a little bit. I've got an email actually it's a two-parter.
Cool.
So hopefully you're ready for it.
I'm always ready for
I'll do
emails.
we'll take it one question at a time. It says, my question for you today, it comes from a man named Dave, by the way. Thanks for listening, Dave.
Thanks for listening, Dave. Appreciate your support.
And the question says, why is it so important to be with other believers?
Oh, wow. I think it actually sort of goes along the same lines, right? We're supposed to be with each other to encourage one another, to lift each other up, to be there to support one another. The world is crazy. The world is chaotic. And if you are caught up in the world, this is the greatest example. I mean, this week, it's so easy to get swept up and caught up in what the world's doing. And you want to voice your opinion on what the world's doing, and you want to be a part of that, and you want to be loud and vocal, and you want to tell people how terrible they are and how good you are. And it takes other believers to sit there and go, don't lose focus, right? Stay the course.
Well, to hold you accountable.
Hold you accountable.
You can have accountability partners through church and
Yes.
things like that. Other believers.
The other thing is, if you're going through something in your life, if you're going through tragedy, if you're going through heartache, if you're broken, you're confused, you have questions, being around other believers is the greatest place to be, because you can lean on them for answers. You can lean on them just for a lending ear. Like, those are the places where you can really pour into. And I don't know how people do it without church. I don't know how people do it without family of believers, because it would have to be very lonely and hard. Maybe that's why depression's skyrocketed. That's why.
I've heard. I'll kind of change gears just a little bit, but I've heard
my gears.
I've heard people say in the past, I don't go to church for people. I go to church for God.
Or I don't have to go to church.
Or I don't have to go to church because
that's not what.
because
that's
that's not
me.
yeah, because I don't go to church for people. I go to you know what I'm saying? But I don't want to take away the importance. I don't want to say you should go to church for people. I don't want to you know what I'm saying?
But there is an importance behind that.
Like
God says that in the Bible.
Because because here's the problem. If you go to a church where the people are angry, depressed, they don't want to talk to you, they're cliquey, well then it's hard to get in there, and it's hard to be around fellow believers, because really they aren't believers, right? They have a deceived perception of righteousness.
Right.
But you want to be a part of a church that's healthy, that's growing, that's vibrant. That way, you guys are pouring into each other.
That too, you can pour in for encouragement. You can look to people for help too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you ask questions and dive into Bible studies together. Like, there's many benefits to being around other believers.
I really like this question, because I think as youth leaders, we also hear that thing with the kids that do come to our youth. We hear the same question. Like, you know how she said, why is it important to be with other believers?
Dave.
Sorry. This is what, I apologize.
Sorry, Dave.
This is why it's so important. And our kids will say, well, we don't have to go to youth. We don't have to do this. And that's a very true statement. You don't have to do any of those things. But, I mean, from someone who didn't go to youth my whole life, and then going to youth the last stages of my high school, I was like, wow, I wish I would have had this my whole high school and middle school, I don't know, chapter of my life.
My friend Mark, I have a friend named Mark Branham.
Woo!
And
This is public knowledge. He's a police officer, so we're not.
I didn't give any of those information.
Sorry.
I didn't give any of that information.
Great guy.
They can Google him.
Funny man.
He's a great guy.
Anyway,
Like Gabriel.
this guy,
He does prank you quite often.
yeah, he does. I don't appreciate those things.
Anyway, go ahead.
But he says that his youth group, from when they're still close to this day.
It's awesome.
And so he talks about just that camaraderie that he got just from his youth group, and he's old now. He's an old man.
Oh, you better watch out.
But you know what I'm saying. But he talks about how impactful that was, and even in my life, like, I always refer back to the things that really stuck out to me as a youth, because I want to pour that into the church, right?
Well, you've said it about personally your own youth group, like you know what I'm saying? But you're a youth leader.
Well,
I don't
me?
say his name, but
Mr. Derek, I'll say his name, Derek.
Yeah, I don't think he remembered his name. That's why he didn't say it.
Browning, I know his name.
Well, no,
Oh,
Andrew.
Andy,
Andrew
right,
got
Derek.
it.
Derek, I just didn't want to say it. You know,
His mom's our piano player now.
she's a fantastic
Hey,
piano
D,
player.
We love you, D.
hopefully you're watching.
So, but the same, it is the
Yeah.
same thing. It's the same thing. Like you know, all those things that I learned from youth group, like, those are things that I've been able to take with me growing up, and the relationships that Derek had with us, and just being there and knowing that he cared for us. Those were the things that, it's like, that's what we have to do. I've always kept that. So those are things that you have to understand, and the church is called a church family for a reason.
Yeah.
And the thing that breaks my heart is there's a lot of churches that aren't that way, and there's a lot of people that feel uncomfortable in their own church.
But a lot of people don't have that. A lot of people don't have church family.
And my advice to them would be, run! Go away! Get away from that church. Go to a church that's up and vibrant and positive and welcoming. There are churches out there. There's tons of them. Find them. Go to them. Jeez.
Don't settle.
Do not settle or be content in a church that's broken. Don't. It is the worst thing that you can ever do. Now, let's say the church is broken. Let's say you love the church and they're broken. If you don't want to do something yourself, if you're not going to step up and make the change yourself inside that church and be the welcoming person and be the guy that helps do outreach, whatever the case is, leave. And then when that church finally gets their stuff together, then you can come back if you want. But I'm telling you, like, you're not stuck at a church. Please don't buy into that.
Good.
Good job.
I don't want to
Sorry,
say anymore.
Dave.
That's good.
What's the second part of that
The two-parter to that question. The second part says, did you learn about humanity before or after you got to the Word?
Well, Dave, that's an interesting question. I learned about it. I mean, we're all human, so I learned about it when I was born.
You didn't learn you were human when you were born.
I'll take it this route.
You're just naturally human.
Yes, I knew about humanity, but I only knew one part about humanity until I started reading the Word of God.
Yes.
And it really changed because before I was a Christian, I was angry with people. I didn't have the same views and stuff. I love y'all, but you guys get on my nerves. But that's the difference. Now I love you.
Stop. Okay.
Well, that was weird.
Let's talk about y'all. I hate the word y'all.
Did I say
And
y'all?
people say y'all.
Did you say it?
People say y'all because
Did I
we're
say
in
y'all?
the country. Listen to me. If you never say y'all, if y'all's not part of your vocabulary, don't say it.
Oh my
So many
goodness.
people come to the
even
country,
mean to say
or they
it?
come to Kentucky and they start saying y'all as if it's like, and it's like.
Well, you
no,
just said it about 20 times in the last
you don't
minute.
say y'all just
You
because
used to
you're
get
from
it.
Kentucky.
Now you made me lose my train of
Right?
thought.
Don't start talking with a hick voice because you're from Kentucky. Like, get out of here.
It's okay, Rick.
You guys
Now,
can't
I will say
tell.
this. Let me give my opinion on this.
Well, you didn't let me finish my opinion.
Will you stop talking?
It's
That's
getting
why.
No.
hostile in here.
So,
Thanks, Dave, for the question.
yeah, Dave, come on now. You're telling me. So, if you look at the world, if you actually look at the world is responding to how they view humanity, right? The whole country's racist. Police are terrible. Like, that's how they view humanity. Like, there is no hope in this world. This world will never be what it should be. My kids will all have to live in this world. Like, they are fearful of the world. They hate the world. They're upset about the world. There's no hope in the world. So that's their view of humanity because they don't have a view of the biblical view, right? So when I look at the world, I see it completely differently. And I'll even say this. When I know Christians who are, I know people, Christians, non-Christians, who sit there and when they walk out the door, this took me a while to learn. I didn't learn this until I was a pastor. That when they walked out the door, it's because when I walk out the door, I see blue skies. I hear the birds. I go, this breeze is unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? I just enjoy life in general. I look at the church. It's a beautiful architect. The houses are beautiful. The town's beautiful. The trees are beautiful. I see all these beautiful things when I go on my walk. I listen to music. I'll put on some reggae, and I'm just like, yeah, man, don't worry. And I'm listening. I'm loving it. I'm just like, life is good, and this is my life. I can do this all the time. I mean, and it took me until I was a pastor to realize that was not normal. That when a lot of people walk outside their doors, they don't see blue skies. They go, this is terrible life I'm living. Everything's gray. Everything's dark. Everything's heavy. And that's the difference of the way the world sees humanity and the way that I see humanity as a biblical Christian. I see the beauty in this world. I see the beauty in storms. I can sit there and go, you see a storm and you go, things are being torn apart. Things are being tossed and turned. The wind's blowing. It's scary. It's dark. But when I see a storm, I go, flowers are getting, nutritions and waters and stuff that they can grow. I'm sitting there going, storms are beautiful. I don't know. The lightning's beautiful when it's coming out of the sky. Rain is good for the ground.
Well, you sound like such a positive person right now. I'm just kidding. He is very. I cracked myself.
That was a very well and good answer.
But those are the
question.
difference.
Really
But
was.
it's not because I'm a positive person. It's because I go,
Are you admitting you're not?
I'm saying this is God's creation. I'm saying this is God's creation.
It's true.
And God has worked everything for his good. And instead of me sitting there going, this is a racist country, I don't see it as a racist country. I see it as the greatest country in the entire world. I am blessed to be an American. I'm blessed to live in the United States. I'm blessed to grow up in Kentucky. And so I have some roots in this place, and I know where I'm from, and I'm proud to be here. I love it. I love the freedoms that I have, not because I'm mixed, not because I'm white, not because I'm black, because I'm American. I got freedoms. I have the ability to pick up myself and achieve whatever I want to achieve. I don't have to stay at one job. I don't have to stay at one church. I don't have to stay at one thing. I can do millions of things. God has been good to us. God has created this wonderful world. And is there evil in it? Of course. Can I sit there and dwell on the terrible things of this world? Of course. Can I sit there and be lonely and dwell? I could do all those things. Or I could sit there and go, look how amazing this moment is. Instead of having bad days, we just have bad moments. Instead of having, we just have to understand that. There's a difference. And that's the difference that I see. Anybody else want to say anything before we?
No, I think you covered everything. Seriously, that was a good answer. It was really deep. Brittany's
He's
Are you
dying. He's dying.
What's wrong with you?
How's the cough mute button? Did it work?
Probably not.
Wait, there's a button on
There's
it?
no mute button. It's
I
just
turned
a
the volume
button.
down.
I was gonna say.
Anyway, that was a really good answer to the question.
All right.
So,
Well, listen, I'm really thankful that you asked that question.
Thanks, Dave.
We're going to take a quick break. All we did was answer questions. That's amazing.
that is a very.
We're going to take a quick break. I got some things I want to talk about when we come back, and then
wrap everything up, and then
wrap everything up, and then we'll be done with episode 12.
episode 12. All right, don't go anywhere.
All right, we're back with the second half of episode 12 of Preaching Young. My name is Amy Crozier. I'm the pastor here at Trinity Southern Baptist Church here in Falmouth, Kentucky.
We literally just said this like 20 minutes ago.
Wow. And in case visitors are watching or listening.
Well,
Just the
always
second
wanna
half,
put it
if
down.
they would listen, they'd start it.
Why are we so mean to our listeners? Don't be mean to your listeners.
I'm not mean, I'm sorry.
Thank you, listeners, for
Do not assume.
your support.
This is the reality of life. Never assume. Okay?
Never assume people know how to write checks. Never assume people know.
Things I've learned about Brittany this week. We shouldn't do this.
We probably shouldn't do this. Maybe we should just skip this segment. We'll skip this
I
segment this week.
dislike you guys. No, go ahead now.
We're already dug in.
I'll fire
We're dug
back.
in the hole.
And you brought this up. I will just continue it because we don't want dead space. Okay, so I'm just going to continue because of that reality. But we found out today that Brittany doesn't know how to write checks.
I know how to
You know
write
what's
checks.
worse about it? We found out today that her parents have taught her 5 different times how to write checks.
I believe her parents listen to this too.
Yeah, they do. And they're
So-
going to get mad at me, so
They
thanks,
should get
guys.
mad. Get upset with them.
No, listen. Let me explain.
No!
I get
There's
nervous.
no-
I don't have a checkbook or anything like that.
You don't
So
need a
when I have to
checkbook.
write a check out, I get so nervous
Have you
because
ever
I'm like,
Googled it? Have you
am
ever
I
tried to
doing it the
Google it?
right thing?
You can always Google
Yeah,
it.
every time I go into the bank to fill out like a slip of
That's
paper,
a
I
deposit
Google it.
slip.
That's a deposit.
Yeah.
That's easy. You fill
I
out
still don't
two
remember.
numbers
I
and
have
your
to
name,
check
and
every
your money.
single time.
But what happens is you see it and you get nervous because you're like, you just freeze up.
Yes.
What you need to do is just stop, relax, see what it's saying,
Take a chill
pay to
pill.
the order of who, right? How
Yeah,
much.
but I didn't know who to write it to. And then I had
That's
to ask the
information you
person.
fill out.
What I'm saying. So anyway.
Anyway, the point of the thing is, I told Brittany, I believe it was second grade. It might have been somewhere around elementary school. They brought in this big old check. It was like huge cardboard check, or it was like dry erase board
So
material, and they showed you physically how to write a check. Now this
Okay,
is like
well
third
listen,
grade.
I didn't even learn cursive,
Listen.
guys.
All right, listen. I do not recommend this show to anyone, but if you all stumbled upon Tiger King on
No,
Netflix,
I've heard of it, yes, 1,000
all right,
times.
well,
I
I've heard of
haven't
it
watched
too.
it.
well, you don't have to. Don't watch it. It doesn't matter. But the guy Joe, he used to go around schools, and he did magic shows, and showed off his animals, and talked about say no to drugs. But then, if you know the show, he's like he's in jail right now for murder for hire. Anyway,
I
Wow.
thought he got killed and got eaten by a tiger. Am I wrong?
have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? Excuse me. Have you seen this show? Have you seen the show?
No, but
Okay,
I
well then
hear
don't
it.
assume that you know what it is. Okay, sorry about that. So here's the reality. Here's the reality of this show. Let me explain it, please.
Where are you going with this?
My point is this: did you guys? So there are kids somewhere that are watching Tiger King, going, "Oh my word, this dude, this weirdo, did a magic show at my school when I was like 4. Like he let me come up on stage and like who knows what he did, but they let this guy come into public schools. That's scary when you find out who the guy is. So my thing is, because me and my wife were talking about this, did you guys have people come? Did you all have like special guests come to you?
Yeah, we had
Random
like,
people.
yeah.
I
all
couldn't
the
tell you
time.
who they were. To this day, I don't
Name
know.
some of them, because we had a guy. I don't know anything about him, but I remember I hated it because we had assembly. We all had to pile into the gym, which of course right now we know that can spread germs like crazy, viruses and stuff. That's a
Probably
no-no.
stopped having assemblies now.
We turned out alright though.
So we got crammed in this gym. The guy gets on his guitar, starts singing, and then I don't remember anything about that guy, but I do remember a gorilla would come out of the bathroom
A gorilla?
in a gorilla suit.
That
A guy in a gorilla suit, and I used to get so mad because he would start dancing around and wanting to get around me. I don't want a guy in a gorilla suit coming near me. And now that I've watched this Tiger thing, I go, now I really don't. I mean, who is that guy in the gorilla suit?
Could be
And
whoever.
what if they did something bad to me? And how are they even allowed to come into the school? And I thought, how many assemblies did I go to with some random guy who was probably a murder for hire guy?
Well,
I
listen,
can't
I
recall
hate
anybody off the top
puppets.
of my head.
I hate puppets,
Oh.
and they always have these people that brought puppets into
Yeah,
the
that's
school in
true.
elementary school and talked to you. I think it was about like sexual assault or something like
What?
that. Yeah,
With
in
puppets?
elementary
What?
school, they're like, yes, I'm.
Don't they have to teach you about the first thing before they teach you about the second
That
thing?
is
Yeah,
true.
I think it's like 4th or 5th grade where they do that. But at the same time,
I was taught in ninth.
I think it was.
no,
fifth grade.
middle school I learned about
Okay,
that.
anyway,
But
let's-
anyway,
Birds and the bees.
puppets.
Finish the
Puppets are
story.
just so weird to me. Anyway, so I was freaked out when I went there. Could you imagine? I think that's kind of freaky. Sorry if you like
couldn't
puppets.
imagine. I
listeners.
couldn't imagine like a fake puppet.
Yeah, and then
So scary.
listen, they brought people in that did like taekwondo and stuff for assemblies and taught you how to like defend yourself.
This is so funny. What?
Yeah.
You guys are weird. We had one of our students like demonstrate their own like karate thing, but not like.
That is true. We had. I think one time we did something in the like in a big assembly. If we had an assembly in school, we always knew who they were. Like they were
Did
coming
ya?
from a company. Like
Did you?
I didn't
We
know who
didn't
the
know
people
them
were.
personally, and that's what we're getting at. Like,
No,
you
but
don't
I'm
know the
saying
people
like,
personally.
that's true. But I'm saying like we knew who they were from. Like they were with like somebody. They were with. People.
Well, this guy was with the zoo.
Yeah.
That's
The-
true. That's weird.
I mean, he ran a zoo, so it was like, hey, it's the GW zoo. Then you go to the zoo, it's like a redneck zoo.
Or fake doesn't exist.
It
And then
exists. What's my point?
I see what you're at.
We're putting our kids in harm's way.
Wow. This is a very interesting fact.
That's like not letting your kids outside though because you're scared they're gonna get ran over
Sunburn.
by a huge truck.
My word, listen to me.
If a huge truck.
Oh
came by,
my word, listen to me.
This is interesting.
Back in the 80s, 90s, they used to do that. They used to let kids just go outside. Then they started.
Yeah, I
Then they
agree,
started
I
getting
know.
stolen.
I was one of those kids. I used to be like, not 90s or 80s.
You
I
got
didn't get-
stolen?
No. I didn't get stolen, but my parents were just like, yeah, go play with your friends.
We did too. It was,
But nowadays, like
come
my
back
nieces,
in before the night's over.
my nieces,
Before the
we
night
don't even
goes.
let them out like anywhere.
But
Even
since
they
you
are like
stolen-
4 and like
Okay,
2,
but that's my point.
but still.
To your argument, you said it's like not let not like.
No, but I mean like my age. It's like my parents being like, well, I don't want my kid to get hurt, so I'm not gonna let them go somewhere.
Your age? How old are you?
I'm 22, so I'm not really.
What is this podcast?
This is a
come to?
terrible example. 22-year-old. No. I'm saying we're putting our elementary school kids in harm's way by giving them strangers who are doing magic shows and puppet shows and dressing up as gorillas.
I mean, but that's like saying, hey, you're sending your kids to private schools, so I mean not private schools, but public schools. I mean, if that's what you want to do, you don't know the teachers that are teaching them.
Yes, you do.
personally.
They have background checks. Yes, we do.
Degrees.
But you can hide that stuff.
I know, but they don't go. Before you come in with that gorilla suit, we need a background check. We need this. They don't do that. They say, "Hey, cool. You wanna waste an hour? Please."
I'm sure
We
they
can't
do
stand these
because
kids."
even like my parents that wanted to do like what's that called, chaperone a trip, they always had to get background
That's different.
checks.
That's because you're literally taking them off campus. I'm saying just random. Like nobody did a background check for Joe Exotic to come to their school and do. If they did, they would have found that he was a convicted felon.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see if they even do that stuff anymore with everything that's going on, like in the world today.
Nobody
I bet
knows
they
what's
don't.
going to happen. Nobody knows what's going to
I
happen.
know. So, but
We don't even know if
guarantee
they're going to
they
have
probably
school
don't.
in the fall. So that's
No,
a bad
not right
example.
now.
Where
I'm
are we
talking
going
about
with
like with how school shootings and stuff is really they've just been around. I bet since it's such like a big like topic nowadays that they probably don't even let people come in schools
Disagree.
like that.
Disagree.
You think?
I think they. If you spend 5 minutes around a bunch of kids, I think you'll use anybody and anybody to come and do an assembly.
Disrupt your hour with
Distract them so I
Yeah.
can take a break for an hour. Yes, I think that's the
probably
reality.
a good point. You're
That's a good question. If you're a teacher, email us. Let us know the truth. But listen,
That was a very interesting. That was 8 minutes of interesting time. I don't even know what that was. But
It's okay.
It's okay.
y'all were talking about 3rd grade, 4th grade.
You
dumb
brought it
stuff.
up.
I brought up good stuff. No, I turned it to a great conversation.
Based on a bad show.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Your opinion does not matter to me.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I'll tell you what opinion does matter. Facts. Numbers. Here's a number that really broke my heart this week.
Are we changing gears officially?
We are.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
We just found out that Southern Baptists across this country
Oh yeah, we talked about this morning.
has declined in membership, has declined in baptisms, has declined in attendance. Now listen, here's a crazier number. 13 years we've been on a steady decline in all those categories. From 2018 to 2019, we've seen our largest decline in Southern Baptist churches. Now, you have two groups of people. We're going to be the third group, but we have two groups of people. You have one group of people that says this, meh, those numbers don't matter, they're probably inaccurate, blah, 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 blah. Who cares? We're not doing it for the numbers, we're doing it for the glory of God. You have your other group of people who say, this is insane, the church is falling apart, the church is exploding, and it's awful. Like, this is terrible. Now, we're the third group, is me. I'm assuming you guys too, but me, I won't speak for you. Which is, it's probably a little bit of both, right? We should be panicking big time because our numbers are dwindling. And this isn't just Southern Baptist. Every denomination, churches all across this country are declining in membership numbers, baptisms. But, and then on the other end, are all the numbers accurate? Who knows? I can't tell you. I don't know how they get those numbers. So you could be a little bit of both. That's me. I like to be in the middle and go, maybe everybody's correct, just a little bit, right? But the reality is, at some point, the churches, the whole organization, all Southern Baptists, at some point are going to have to stop what they're doing, take good looks in the mirror, and say, what are we doing that's causing this decline, especially if you're at a declining church. And then say, what are the churches that are growing, thriving, healthy, and then what are they doing?
Declining church, which by that statistic would be like
Membership
75% of the churches.
Oh yeah,
or more.
Yes. We're not doing very good.
Yeah.
We're not doing very good
Based upon those numbers.
according to those numbers. And I don't think if you're going to mess up numbers or trick your numbers or manipulate your numbers, I don't think you would manipulate them to be negative.
That's true.
So having the worst, I think they said it was the worst decline in 1 year from 2018 to 2019 that we've seen in 100 years.
You already said that once.
Did he?
I don't think I did.
I don't
I
think
said that
you did.
earlier.
Yeah, you said earlier.
You're confusing our conversation.
No,
with
you
our
literally just said it
earlier.
like 10 minutes ago.
All right, let's rewind the tape.
30 seconds ago. Prove me right here, preaching young,
Rewind the tape.
preaching young nation.
Oh, he didn't say it.
Can we call him that? Can we call him
Don't do
Can we call our
nation.
listeners something?
Cool. We could call him listening young.
What?
Oh my goodness, what if they're old?
Yeah.
Oh,
what if
great.
they're not
Here we
young?
go.
Oh wow, Brittany.
You don't
If you're
say-
old, if you're
She just
young,
opened up a
everyone
can of
can
worms.
listen. It doesn't matter. Y'all can listen. We love you
Well,
all.
that's what I'm saying. You're the one that said listening young.
Okay.
God.
Preaching
What
young.
does this podcast come
Oh,
to,
my
people?
word.
Episode 12.
Everyone should be young at heart. Everyone.
That is true.
Now, listen. I have an old soul, though. So
Yeah, I was gonna say people tell me that all the time. Everybody looks at me and Andrew like, you guys are old souls.
it's not. It's usually not a compliment. It's usually
That's a bad
Yeah, well, people use it because like I don't like to, go out and party and all that stuff.
No, I think it's
That's
even
fine.
worse. It's probably because you guys are old and you guys like to go to the grocery store and
Who likes to go to the grocery store?
not anymore. But listen. So here's the thing that we have to understand about
Yeah,
these
hurry and
numbers.
go before Brittany interrupts you some more.
I know, or she gets upset because she wants to go. She's ready to leave or falls asleep. We go.
We'll get to that segment next. Go ahead.
I haven't even said it.
Go ahead.
Well, my point is, with these numbers declining, I think that at some point we have to sit there and go, okay, well, what churches are thriving, surviving, living, growing, and then you have to be able to that has to weigh in the conversation at some point, right? Our church is in the middle of a rural country area. We're a country church, right? In the middle of a small town called Falmouth, Kentucky. When we got here, we were part of that statistic of decline. But now we've grown. I need to know the percentage, but we've grown 7 times.
It's definitely exponentially.
Yeah, 7 times what we were when we started. Our membership is out the roof, our attendance out the roof, our baptisms out the roof, and so those are. I wish people would sit there and ask us or let us pour into them about things that we're doing, because Aiden Crozier doesn't have a seminary degree. I have an associate degree in business, right? I don't have 20-year experience of a church, right? This is our first church. We're a year and a half into it, right? These are all things that people don't even, they ignore. They're like, well, this is how it's always been. This is like, we've always done it this way. These are the people that we always look for. We want somebody to teach instead of preach. Like, we don't do any of that. We do traditional hymns. I have an old school style of preaching.
Still wear a suit?
I still wear a suit. Did I say we like hymns? Because we love hymns.
Still have a piano and an organ?
Still have a piano and organ. We don't have a guitar or drums or nothing. I'm not opposed to it. Just don't have it. We're not trying to be anything crazy. We don't have a crazy budget. But what we do have is love. We love on our people. We love the lost people. We want to evangelize. We have God as our leader, who's going to lead us through everything. We're going to go to Him in prayer. We're going to go to the Word of God and preach the Word of God. We're going to be active as a church and keep things simple. And I don't know what it would take to get some churches to wake up, and some churches are just old and they're tired and they don't feel like doing anything. There's other churches that are trying their hardest to do everything and be like the world. But the reality is, Brittany talked about it. It's identity.
Yeah, an identity crisis.
Oh wow!
Churches are in an identity
crisis.
You're
what did you say? You're confusing our personal conversation outside the podcast with our conversation on the podcast. She didn't talk about that today. Anyway.
Yeah, I really did. We do.
She did.
We have an
Not on
identity
the podcast.
crisis.
I know, but she was. I'm saying.
Earlier,
I got yelled at for it.
We're very hostile today, guys.
I
But
don't know
in
what it
all
is, okay?
seriousness,
This is supposed to be Brittany's episode.
yeah, it is. And you guys haven't let me speak at all. Okay, here we go.
Go ahead.
As churches, when I look at it, we do have an identity crisis.
Who?
Every church. Well, not every church. Like churches in general have an identity
Southern
crisis.
Baptist, though, I think.
Yes, definitely. I think people have this strewed idea of what
Is that a word?
misconception. That's what I was going for. Thank you for
that's-
that. I think that's still okay, but we do. People look at it and they're like, "Oh, they're racist." You said that earlier, Abram. You said that people think that Southern Baptists are racist.
Yeah, they do.
And they think they're old school. They think
Yep.
they have like a mindset that's so far gone that it's not even biblical, that it's like fundamentalists. People have that idea of Southern Baptist, and not just Southern Baptist. Other churches are like, well, we should take this word out of our name as a church.
Take out Baptist.
Yeah, take out Baptist.
We were told, that's the other thing, we were told to take out,
Southern.
our church is called Trinity Southern Baptist Church. It looks very hillbilly-ish, I guess, but
We first got it, yeah.
I have no issue with it. We're a Southern Baptist church. We have Southern Baptist beliefs. I support the Southern Baptist. So, it's an interesting,
But that's what it is. It's like
Yeah.
people focus too much on that too, I think.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming to church, you're not coming because of the name.
and most Southern Baptist churches are trying their hardest to be the community churches, right? They're trying their hardest to be the mega churches that we see that are not Southern Baptists, and most of these mega churches are not Southern Baptists, but yet we're trying to be them.
Yep.
But we don't. It's like, okay,
That's
but
exactly what it is.
yeah, so we have to be careful. Like Southern Baptists are Southern Baptists, and there's a reason that we are Southern Baptists. There's a reason that we're a part of the cooperation program and all these different things. So we have to understand what our benefit is, what we can give to people, and this is not just with church, but with Christianity in general, with life. Be who you are, right? Be who God made you to be. Don't try to be somebody else. Don't try to
Be what
be
the world
different
tells you.
churches. Like, be who you are. And we're Trinity. Across the street is my dad's church, First Baptist. Across the street from on the other side is Fountain Baptist. Like, Fountain Baptist is going to be who they are. My dad's church is going to be who they are. We're going to be who we are. Like, that's how everybody should be. Just don't try to be somebody you're not. Be who you are. And be who you are in the community. Your church should reflect your community as opposed to the world.
Yep.
Which is sad.
So many times that's flip-flopped.
Yes, because we want to give the world their concert-driven, entertainment-focused church, and that doesn't do anything, right? Because it leaves them wanting more, which is why you get revolving doors in these mega churches. But in real life, in real community, people need help, and they need advice, and they need somebody to lean on to.
And that's what the church is for. That's not an identity crisis. That's what you should do.
Cool. Speak up a little closer to the mic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I pushed
She
my
was
mic
yelling.
back
She was
because
yelling.
I have a very bold voice. I talk very loud. So.
We know.
Yep.
We know.
Do we have a final segment of whatever you want?
Oh,
whatever.
thoughts about
Wait.
Abram and Andrew.
No, whatever you want to call it about Brittany.
No.
Anything? You don't have a segment for it?
No.
Wow. Okay. I guess we get to let her have her moment. Go ahead.
All right, something that I've noticed about Abram and Andrew this week. Well, it's not just this week; it's every single week. Is that they like to pick on me. I could just be having a good day. If I'm quiet, there's always something wrong with me. If I'm loud, then there's something wrong with me that day. They always think something's wrong, or if I'm in a hurry.
My turn.
Yep.
Here's the
That's it?
reality.
That's all you wanted to say?
Here's
You
the
gave me a whole segment.
shit,
That's all
I
you
know.
said.
I was expecting 10 minutes of a rant, but she only gave you 30 seconds. Cool. But here's the reality, Brittany, and I really want you to know this. But take it to heart. Take it to heart.
Oh gosh.
We care about you.
Amen.
We appreciate all you do, and we want you to be the best version of yourself. We don't want you to be somebody that you're not. We don't want you to have an identity crisis.
I don't have
We
an
want you to
identity
be
crisis.
who you are and who God made you to be.
You guys want
And
me to have an
sometimes-
identity crisis.
You get defensive.
I know she is. I'll let you talk for 30. I'll talk for 30.
You'll talk for 30 minutes.
And sometimes, you have to not,
Here we go.
you have to be who you are. And sometimes I think me and Andrew see who God called you to be. And sometimes I think,
We just want you to do it.
I think
We just want you to
sometimes
be that person.
Thanks, Mom and Dad.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
wow, that's
Shut
a
up.
compliment. Thank you. I love your parents.
Yeah, they're great people.
So anyway, that's all I got.
That's
today.
good stuff. I cannot believe she's been hyping this up for a couple
Yeah, she's like,
days.
I'm
She's
gonna
like,
have
I'm gonna
my
have a
own
segment, and you got 30
I
seconds.
don't sound like that. I don't sound like that.
Because here's the reality. We actually debated on whether to do today's podcast because of all the stuff that's happening in the world. The world's going nuts.
Yep.
It's going crazy. It's all falling apart. So we were going. One of the podcasts that I listen to is Cooper Stuff. John Cooper from Skillet. I don't know if you've ever heard of Skillet. You ever heard that band?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
They were like, we're taking the week off. We're not even doing anything. We're gonna pause Cooper Stuff.
But we're not gonna do that to you.
And I thought to myself, we should probably do it too, man, because at the time, especially earlier this week, I was like, I had so many opinionated things to say that I wanted to get across. And so I was like, how do I do that? What should I say? I was like, I don't want to even get on the podcast because I'm going to say something that's going to make half the world upset and the other half, cheer. But so I was like, let's not even do it. And then halfway through the week, Andrew's like, well, we'll just have Brittany
Run the episode.
We'll have Brittany come up with the topics. We'll have Brittany come up with other things. And then today we're like, okay, Brittany, what you got? She's like, nothing.
I had 3 questions.
No, we have emails for questions, so you
Yeah,
can't take
but
credit for that.
I got
Yeah.
those. Like, they sent them in, so I knew
You
it.
got
And then I
one.
had one of them that was, I found it.
Well, they emailed you too. So
But the point is, we
thank
gave you
for
a
all the
segment.
3 people or the 2 people that messaged us. We appreciate that. If you need to message us again,
You can send us an email preaching young.
what are you gonna say?
@gmail.com.
What are you gonna say?
What I was gonna say is, I'm kind of upset at that fact that we gave her we gave her her segment that she's been wanting,
Finally.
and it's been very short. It was very short, 30 seconds.
Well, I don't want to roast you guys too bad.
That was the
just
point.
how
That was the whole
it
point of the segment. That's all.
Listen, I'm used to it. Every day after Sunday for lunch, I know a lot of people that have preacher roast.
He's stealing that.
Roast
saying from
preacher.
Someone else.
No, preacher roast. Well, it is
It's
roast
roast preacher.
Yeah, they have roast preacher. Yeah, thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome.
Darn it, I
Thank you.
messed up the
You
joke.
can't
I didn't even make the joke right.
Say it.
Thank you for doing that
Your
joke.
joke
Yes.
We got him up.
After lunch
We got you
on
flustered.
Sundays, I know a lot of people that have roast preacher.
And I just want you to know that I'm one of those. I'm just kidding. That was pretty funny. I'm just kidding.
I was listening to Adrian Rogers. Adrian Rogers saying that, but Adrian Rogers pointed out the whole point of them saying that was we should not be negative after church. We shouldn't talk negative about church or see it as a chore, because a lot of times we go, church is a chore, right? I can't believe we have church this weekend. It's not a chore. It's a privilege. It's an honor to be there.
It's a privilege.
We shouldn't sit there and go, well, I know a lot of pastors like, I gotta I gotta get away from the church, man. It's just, I mean,
Or they'll thank the church straight up to their face.
yeah,
They'll
thanks
thank
church
them.
for letting me
Thanks
get
for
away. I
letting me get
couldn't
away.
stand y'all very much longer.
They let
It's like,
it slide.
no, man, church is good, church is it, and but it's just funny to me. And but we gotta be positive about church. We gotta talk good about church. You can't be upset about church before Sunday morning. Then after church, talk about how terrible it was.
True.
You know, you try to do it. It's hard. All right, my name's Aiden Crozier. For the third time.
What are you? Go ahead. Might as well tell them what you do.
Pastor Train Southern Baptist Church. Falcon Kentucky.
My name's Andrew Baker.
And I'm
that's Brittany.
Oh,
Sorry. I totally stole your thunder. This is Brittany's episode. Maybe we should let her start.
This is
Let's let her
Brittany's
start. Let's let her
secretary.
all
start.
right. My name's Brittany Fornash.
She just told his name.
Wow.
I'm Andrew Baker.
And this is Preaching Young.
That's it?
That's all I got.
Okay, see ya.